children to do this your day. This is Queen Quet, the head on the body of this show, Gullah Geechee Nation. I'm so glad they wanted to tune in for one more again of this show, Gullah Geechee Gwine on Nayshun Nyews. Look, y'all, 100 children know if you stick with this your program, 100 Gwine all around the world. Forget it what Gullah Geechee trying to do everywhere we're there. Now, plenty of 100 children who've been to watch this your program know say me Gwine for stomp on the concrete and New York Aliwal. Well, great God, 100 children, you know we the day to say you're Gwine in the wilderness, you're Gwine in the bush. Well, look, I will come up here to this your concrete jungle and beat in the bush a while. Find plenty of Gullah Geechee children that do plenty things, but 100 children probably ain't fussed with a figure them gonna do. So now, if 100 day upon this your book where your face did it, for the other rest of the time, if you're on Facebook with a lot of the rest of us, like with the Gullah Geechee Nation now, you may have seen this face there. My guest today is Tamar-Kali. And for those who are into Afro-Punk, you definitely know her name and her face and her sound and her music. Yes, this is the originator of hardcore, geeky goddess, warrior soul. Now, that title in and of itself bolds the question. Tamar-Kali, how did you come up with that name for your music?
As an expression of my cultural heritage and the style of music I was doing that was steeped in my experiences in the hardcore New York City music scene. Okay. So combining my cultural legacy with the type of music, the origin of some of my musical style, hardcore.
Interesting. Now, most times when people hear about Gullah Geechee culture, I doubt that they would think hardcore would go with that. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, it is hardcore. I mean, that we would kind of be like the punk rock version of the African American experience.
Now that's an interesting statement. Elaborate on that one. I like that one.
One of the main principles of punk rock culture is DIY, do it yourself. And being that you know, we were left to our own devices when many of the plantation owners fled the area. We did it ourselves, including the brother on St. Catherine's Island, who basically was trying to start up his own.
His own township.
Yeah, and then they went as far as like he wanted to have its own constitution.
Yes, and they had the whole city layout and everything else.
So DIY, do it yourself. And I feel like it's a lot of my Gullah heritage that kind of was in sync with a lot of the punk rock principles that I was witnessing when I was young, and that made me kind of feel it out for that being self-sufficient.
Okay, and see, that's a key part, being self-sufficient, because I know when a lot of people hear punk rock, first of all, they don't necessarily think, oh, African people are involved with punk rock, but then you have this whole Afro-Punk movement, and I know there's even a film, and you're right there on the cover of it, about Afro-Punk. How did that whole movement evolve? And was this early on at the same time that you were developing your music that this movement started, or did you just enter into this movement?
No, in about 2001, I guess I met a gentleman, James Spooner, who was doing a film about black people in the punk rock and hardcore scene.
Okay.
And that film was originally called Rock and Roll Nigga, but because the title was pretty intense and not very marketable, in order for him to have more of a viewership and to have visibility for his film, he changed the title to Afro-Punk, the rock and roll nigga experience. Okay. That film deals specifically with black people in the hardcore and punk rock scenes. Now, once the film was established, and he screened it a lot, and he screened it in conjunction with musical performances, which was really smart. He was a really creative guy. He had like a label when he was like 18 years old. Wow. He was just a very creative mind, and he's good with promotional type stuff, just on that street level, DIY promotion. So the screenings were very successful with the shows, and he started hosting shows. Now since then, it's become a trademarked lifestyle brand, which is just a canopy for all things alternative in black people's experiences. So it's a shoot off from what the original film was, which is very specific topic to what it's grown to now. And you know, in order for it to be marketable, if it was just specifically to hardcore punk, it would be a very small,
small viewership and following and everything.
So now, with you know, his Matthew Morgan is heading that up, and It's a huge festival, and they got all kinds of stuff. And basically it's a lifestyle brand, including like BMX, skateboarding, like, you know, anyone who's not up the same beaten path, you know, like something other than some R&B, and, you know.
Or just the general hip hop, or just soul, or just this. You have a blend.
Exactly. You have an open mind, and just you're into other things.
Right. And that's the direction you might go. So it's interesting when you say being into other things also, because for instance, someone might come to one of your concerts, and I've seen several of them, and you're there and you're doing, let's say, like a video that's on YouTube, the booth, right? And then they may hear some of your tracks and they'll hear Ocean. And then they'll say, well, wait a minute, is this the same person? You know, and then they'll come to another show, and instead of you maybe standing there and dancing at the mic and everybody's playing behind you, you're actually playing the guitar and you have other stringed instruments behind you, and it'll be an all-female band. And someone will say, well, she's not, well, what genre of music is she in? I mean, do you get that question, or do you get a different fan base when you're doing different types of shows?
Well, I mean, with my 5-piece project, which is very balls to the wall, aggressive in your face, aggressive melodic rock, you know, a lot of the people who come to that show are going to go to the other shows, because once I stepped out as a solo artist and I wasn't fronting a band in a certain hardcore scene, just based on the fact that I'm a woman and a black woman, my fan base kind of changed, because people who looked like me wanted to come to support me as another woman. And sometimes, because I wasn't now fronting an all-boy band and I wasn't a part of that, some people didn't come because they felt like they couldn't relate. So I've got everything from people who just love, like, who come from hardcore punk rock. They hear the music, they like the aggressivity in it, and the aggressiveness in it, and they're digging it, and they just like hearing my story in that context. And then you've got people who wouldn't necessarily listen to hard rock, but they related to my vocals or my story. And when I've branched out into other projects, whether it be the string project that's like no percussion, just all strings, all female, you've got anyone coming to see that show from just artists who like the idea of someone recreating or deconstructing to people who are really getting a kick out of seeing all these beautiful women playing together. People who particularly like string music. And then I have pseudo acoustic, which is kind of like a bridge between the two with the piano. So you've got people who are just Tamar-Kali fans. And then with the pseudo acoustic, because I've been featured at the Schaumburg's Women's Jazz Festival a couple of times. So that's a very multi-generational audience.
I'm sure.
You know, but yeah, so it's like all between people come for different reasons.
For different reasons, right. And that's one of the things, not everybody might get to come hear you play in New York, or even in Mexico, or Spain, all these different places around the world. So we want to give the audience a chance to just see you where you were in Brooklyn, at Weeksville. So we're definitely going to let them tune into that for a minute, and we're going to come right back to you, talking a little bit more about that word you used a minute ago, deconstructing. That's one of my favorite words. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Hana Chillin, Hana No, Disya, the what Gwine on.
Say it tomorrow. Cool.